Well, it's Snake Mountain. Somebody's got to be looking after the snakes. Here's your look at the Mattel Masters of the WWE Universe, Jake the Snake Roberts. WWE and Masters of the Universe combine into a powerful force. The Masters of the WWE Universe channel the power with this highly posable action figure, a WWE superstar, as a Masters of the Universe character. We're going to have to make things quick because it's almost Damien's dinner time before we get a closer look at Jake the Snake Roberts from the Masters of the WWE Universe. So strange to still try to fit the WWE into it. So used to saying Master Universe Origins. Anyways, though, before we get a closer look at the figure, the first thing we're going to do is take the tape measure right to the very top of Jake's head, and we're going to stop it right there. Jake the Snake Roberts stands 5.9 inches in height. Switching that over to centimeters, the figure is exactly 15 centimeters tall. How about that? And to compare Jake the Snake Roberts with some of the other Masters of the WWE Universe figures that we've had a look at, which only really technically makes one, let's compare him next to Mr. T. They've not really technically fought one another. It would be a different story altogether if we had a Rowdy Roddy Piper. Did they ever release a Rowdy Roddy Piper as a Masters of the WWE Universe? I'm going to have to look into that. And then for other comparisons, just because, again, he's evil, he always has to come into these reviews. Here he is next to Skeletor. Again, I would imagine he's probably the snake handler at Snake Mountain. I hope he makes decent money with at least a pretty good health coverage. Again, if you're going to be dealing with snakes all the time, those snakes have venom. And I got to hope, if anything, Jake's getting proper medical care from, of course, his employer, Skeletor, here to his right. Jake comes with things that you see. Jake also comes with things you can't see. I know I'm speaking riddles right now, but let's first have a look at the things that you can very visibly see here in this backdrop right now. Starting first, he comes included with a comic book. It's a rather interesting looking comic. As you can see, there's Jake in the background here. And then in front of him is a rather different looking snake monster. And of course, you've got, once again, going back to the well again, we've got Macho Man Randy Savage. We're never going to live down that day. Everybody remembers that moment where the cobra bit down on poor Randy's arm. I guess they're going to be doing that similarly here on. And actually, they even show that on the back of the packaging. What fun is that? What isn't fun necessarily is the fact that if you flip open the page, this is the only thing you're actually seeing. Just this side right here. You've got H, Triple H right there, and it looks like a defeated, there you go, once again, Macho Man getting mowed down by the rather ticked off snake. I think Jake actually slapped it around a few times before eventually unleashing it to Randy's arm. Boy, oh boy. But as you can see, it's only just a single page. That's all you're really getting. On the back is advertised the other figures from this wave. So, for example, we've got the Jake the Snake Roberts that we're looking at in this review, Mr. T that we just finished having a look at, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and Seth Rollins. I don't know why the camera always seems to struggle. I think it's just because the print is so small. It's like, what am I trying to see? What am I trying to see? My eyes can certainly relate to that camera. Anyways, we're going to put that to the side. And Jake the Snake also comes included with a big giant python. At least I'm assuming it to be a python. It's long, it's stretchy, and it's made of a soft material. Looking at this, it reminds me of those, was it Mattel? I'm trying to think of the company that produced those Masters of, not Master Universe figures, the WWE Universe figures at around the, I guess the 80s, the 90s, not the LJN ones, but the ones right after that had spring features. I had a Jake the Snake Roberts, and I feel he had a similar looking snake to this, though not as long. You can fit this around Jake's head, just like that, and you can display him. Probably the way I am going to be displaying the figure is with a snake around his neck, and that actually looks quite nice. The snake doesn't really have a lot of detailing done to it. In fact, picking up again and hopefully knocking over Jake, you can see really the only thing that's been painted in here is the little beady little eyes. The rest of it, again, doesn't really have any paint to it. It almost looks like that you should be able to bend it, but that's not the case. It's just, like I said, a soft rubbery plastic. So we'll put that to the side. Now, to go back to that little bit of riddle I posed when we were talking about the accessories, of course, I said that there were things that you can see on Jake, or things that come with Jake, and then there's things that you can't see. Well, let's kind of delve a little bit more into that. In order to do that, of course, I'm going to want to pick up the figure and show you guys up close and personal. Jake the Snake Roberts. This torso piece, I'm drawing a blank to see if this actually was released in a previous Masters of the Universe Origins figure. I mean, obviously you can probably think Battle Armor He-Man. I don't think it has the same style to it. I think it's just a little bit different. And it's not Battle Armor Skeletor, at least not that I'm aware of. Spin around to the back, and like I said, this is all hard plastic. Not only does it serve to be protection for Jake, but it also reveals a secret inside when you crack this open. The front panel, while it may look like something that may flip or reveal something different, it doesn't. You can't do anything differently with it. Getting a close look first at his head sculpt, I think as a stylized Masters figure, that looks a pretty good likeness to Jake the Snake Roberts, who at the time actually is no longer with the WWE. He's moved on to AEW. I guess they would still have to release the figure. I'm not really sure how that works. If a talent has left the company, they've already produced the mold. Do they want to just waste the mold? Or I guess they're still going to make money off of Jake even after he's left, and he's probably not going to see a dime of this. Poor Jake the Snake Roberts. That's a good looking head sculpt. You'll see though, as I tilt the head up, there's a bit of green peeking out from the top. What's happening here? Well, he does actually have a revealed gimmick. In order to reveal it though, it's best to pop the head off first, and you'll see that there's a little bit of additional imprinting on the neck. From there, go ahead and just reach inside. It's almost like you're opening up a lobster tail. What a comparison that is. And then you're going to hinge this up like this. It's very important that when you are putting it back in place that you do it in a certain order. But you're going to remove it like this. And inside that is they've painted on a really interesting looking snake scale printing on his torso. I think that's really cool. And then to further add to that, you go ahead and put on Jake's face like that. And then you can grab the face completely and remove it. I find this to be a bit jarring that I'm literally peeling Jake's face off, but that's what you do, and this is what you get. A rather scary looking snake face underneath. Definitely something that looks a little bit more closer to the kind of clientele that would be working with Skeletor. They still have the mustache, which I find is hilarious. I mean, they've still kept Jake's mustache. That's, I guess, what he's known for having. But instead, underneath that, instead of a regular pair of lips, he's got this open mouth. It isn't so much open as it's just curved. I guess what they were really trying to go with is that they wanted to make it look like a vintage toy. So sculpting things like that probably also would be difficult too if you're going to be putting the face in place. The face in place probably would be difficult if you had the mouth actually as a sculpted piece with visible teeth and stuff like that. And like I said, this just put it over top of it. It has almost a sponge look to it. It's not the sharpest looking detailing. It almost kind of looks like a wet, watered tattoo. You know the little tattoos you put on your arm? Dude, does everybody still do that? Or is it just me? It's kind of the vibe that I'm getting when I look at it. I mean, this is good. Probably wouldn't end up displaying it with the figure, or probably wouldn't have the figure looking like this. So it sort of can go ahead and reverse everything. Now, when you are putting this back onto his torso, as I said, there's a specific way that you got to do it. It's really difficult to do it while the head is still in place. So I would advise reversing all the process that we just finished doing, taking all those steps and rewinding them. First, you're going to pop the head off like that. Doing a lot of head popping lately. I'm going to put the torso piece on. And just before I put the other half on, I wanted to show you again the snake print on the front and flip it around to the back to show you. Yeah, there's nothing on the underside. You couldn't even really pop it out and then flip it around because the inside is just sculpt. That's all it is. But then when you're putting it in place, you just can't put it like this. You have to put it in on an angle so it latches onto those clasps on either side like that. Fit that over top and then snap the bottom half together. Make sure that those snap securely in place. And go ahead and put the head back on top. There we go. There was the other snap. Successful. And then we'll go ahead and put the face back in place. This is certainly something different because we not yet seen this, or at least I haven't seen this with another Masters figure. That's quite the elaborate gimmick incorporated into it. Neat that they did it with also Jake the Snake, because it plays well to the idea that there's something hiding underneath the skin. Jake's darker side, for example. As for the rest of the figure, we've got some nice purple detailing done to the lower half of the body armor. He's actually got that on the top there as well. The only thing, again, that's perplexing is this piece right here, because I feel like it should be doing something. If it probably was used from another figure, that other figure probably had a gimmick or something happening here, but it definitely looks like Jake should be able to do something on his torso. He just can't. You probably have noticed while I've been talking away, and I apologize, I've probably been doing a whole lot of talking in this review, but you'll see that there's a lot of little paint problems here, especially on the fingers. He had a little bit also on his torso, but at least if you have him displayed like this, you're not going to see it. But you will certainly see that there's black paint all over his fingers. I'm going to see if I can probably try to remove that. Take a very mild amount of, like, not thinner, but or something I could probably just try to take that off. It really stinks, the fact he's got a little bit of black there on his fingers. The lower half of his body, I feel like it's the same lower torso that we got with Mr. T. Of course, the colors aren't Mr. T's colors. They're more the familiar Jake the Snake colors. So you kind of got this teal green, and then you've got the snake printing there on the side, actually on both cases here. Purple in the boots to match the purple of the snakes on both sides. He's a squatter-looking figure, but again, he proportionately fits in well with the rest of the Master of the Universe Origins figures that, at least up to this point, I've been collecting quite religiously. Every single wave that's come out, I've been picking up. And it's only just in this wave alone that I've now started to get into the Masters of the WWE Universe. I know, admittingly, I'm a little behind on that line. Let's have a look at the articulation on Jake the Snake Roberts. Okay, so you can move his head back and forth, but there's a lot of things hanging this up. For starters, the bottom of his chin is going to start brushing up against the top torso of his armor here. That's going to get a little hung up. And also the sculpting of his hair is going to really wreak havoc when it comes to moving the head really back and forth beyond, say, just that. And beyond just, say, that. The head does move up, but just only by a little bit. And it also hinges down, but only just by a little bit. The arms hinge out as what you would expect by this point, 90 degrees. You can't really move them beyond that point just because of the size of the shoulders, but you can at least rotate the arms all the way around. Jake the Snake also does have, like the other ones we looked at before, a swivel on the forearm where you can also hinge the elbow back and forth. He does also have articulation, so you can give the thumbs down if he wants to, and you can also hinge the hands back and forth. You're not going to have any torso crunch or anything like that. In this case, like all the other cases, you just have a straight swivel in the waist. Legs split out to a full splits. You go forward and back on the legs. He has a bend at the knee, just a single bend. You can rotate the lower leg. You can rotate Jake's boots. And when it comes to his feet, you can move them also back and forth, and you can ankle pivot them as well. I would say in a case like this, the coolest feature on Jake would be something I wouldn't even display with the figure, that being his snake printing underneath. I mean, I like it. I think it's a neat idea and something different brought to the table. Whereas Mr. T basically just had fists and a kung fu hand. Jake's got more of an elaborate thing going on. But because I like Jake the Snake Roberts, I really don't want to remove any of the things that are on the figure right now, like his body armor and, of course, Jake's face. I don't want to be removing that. So even though it is a neat-looking gimmick that they've incorporated to Jake the Snake Roberts, it's honestly something that's never going to be seen in my collection. In final looks, there it is right there, mowing down on Macho Man's arm. Just can't let it go. I mean, that's the thing that he's known for. If you're thinking feuds with Jake the Snake Roberts, the one that usually comes to my mind, at least, between that and Earthquake squashing Damien, it's obviously Macho Man. So, of course, if they have to do anything on the back of the packaging when it comes to artwork, why not having him mowing down on Macho Man? It's kind of a little jarring also that he's literally holding his face in his hand. Like some artist painted a portrait that's pretty close to looking like Jake the Snake, but he's literally holding his face in his hand. It kind of reminds me of Zartan a little bit. The artwork on the back is frightening, but of course it goes well with a character like Jake the Snake Roberts. As I said in this review, even though he does have the removable face piece and he does have the removable body armor, which is something that I can't say for the same for Mr. T. Well, Mr. T, you could take off his armor piece, but it was just a lot more difficult to do that. Just never going to really display it like that. Snake Face Guy is fine and good, but Jake the Snake Roberts, that I feel is where the money is. And that's going to be the way I'm going to display the figure. He also, of course, comes included with this big giant python. Currently, you can see sitting on the shoulders of Jake. He's a nice looking figure. He doesn't have the most interesting of comics. I mean, let's just say the comic stinks. You got a single page, and that's it. And I'm assuming it probably was a continuation of the comic that was just before it, and then just, unfortunately for me, I probably reviewed these figures out of order. If I was to go with the order on the back of the packaging, then yes, I probably should have flipped Mr. T with Jake the Snake, and Jake the Snake probably should have been first, then Mr. T, and maybe we would have a little bit more of a fluid story, but I don't know. That comic is still pretty weak. I mean, I can praise it all I want. I can really hype it up, but that comic is really underwhelming. What isn't underwhelming, though, is Jake the Snake Roberts. Between him and Mr. T, I think those are the figures I probably would have been the most interested in getting. Although I will say The Fiend looks pretty cool, and I'm probably going to ultimately review him next, leaving then poor Seth Rollins. And I don't know, it could change. But probably going to leave Seth Rollins for the last. Sorry, Seth. Nothing against you, just the other guys in this wave are a little bit more interesting. What do you guys think of Jake the Snake Roberts? Let me know down below in the comments section. Were you around? Do you remember when that big giant King Cobra latched down on Macho Man? And Jake totally was slapping that thing around before he let the snake loose. Good old Jake the Snake Roberts. One of the best legends around. But let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of this figure. If you're new to this channel, I hope to think that you're enjoying all the content. Be sure to hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already done so. And that, yes, make sure you're coming back to this channel because we are going to be looking at The Fiend. And right after that, we are going to be looking at Seth Rollins. The chances are of very slim to none that I'm going to reverse that order. You never know. I could. No, I'm not. I'm totally not. Sorry, Seth, you're going to be dead last. Lots of stuff coming your way, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.